Picture this. The streets of Harlem are quieter now. The brownstones are polished, the corner stores replaced with oat milk cafes, and the laughter of generations of black families who once called this city home is fading into silence. A passing car blasts soca music, a rhythmic echo of a new cultural wave. But where are the bass lines of Eric B. and Rakim? The unapologetic funk of James Brown? The pulse of Big Daddy Kane echoing from boomboxes on stoops? That sound, raw, powerful, unmistakably black American, is gone. This is not the New York of the 1980s or even the early 2000s. This is something different. For over a century, New York was a northern beacon for black Americans escaping the violence of Jim Crow. But now, those same communities are vanishing, slowly, quietly, and almost no one is asking why. This is not just about gentrification. It's not just about rent. This is about the erasure of legacy. A displacement so vast, it has reshaped the cultural backbone of the city that once prided itself on diversity. Today on Scope News, we investigate the disturbing reality behind what some are calling the Black Exodus from New York. In 2000, the black population of Brooklyn stood proud, nearly 800,000 strong. Fast forward to 2020, and that number had dropped by nearly 70,000 people. Bed-Stuy, once known as the largest black community in America, saw its non-Hispanic black population drop by over 22,000 residents in just a decade. East New York followed close behind. Crown Heights is now a shadow of its former self. This isn't a trickle, it's a flood, and it's being masked as development. New condo high-rises pop up where public housing once stood. Rents skyrocket from $900 to $3,000 in less than 5 years. And longtime residents, families who lived in these neighborhoods for 3, 4, 5 generations, are told to move along. You can't afford it here anymore. But they could before, so what changed? Harlem is the spiritual heart of Black New York. But even here, the culture is thinning. Black-owned businesses are pushed out. Historic churches are closed or converted into luxury condos. The Apollo Theater still stands, but the community that once filled its seats is leaving in droves. So where are they going? South, to Atlanta, to Charlotte, to Houston, to Raleigh. This modern reversal of the Great Migration is pulling thousands of Black New Yorkers toward places with lower rent, job opportunities, and, most importantly, respect. The census tells the story plainly. Since 2000, over 180,000 Black residents have left NYC. Meanwhile, cities in the South are booming with new Black middle-class enclaves, church communities, and entrepreneurs. But why did they have to leave in the first place? While Black residents are leaving, another population is rapidly expanding. In the last 5 years, New York City has absorbed tens of thousands of new immigrants, particularly from West Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, and more recently, asylum seekers from Venezuela, Haiti, and other nations. This wave has overwhelmed public housing, school systems, and shelters. City leaders have declared a migrant crisis, while working-class residents, many of them Black, say they're being pushed aside in favor of newcomers. Subsidies, housing vouchers, and resource allocations are being restructured to accommodate migrant families, leading many lifelong New Yorkers to ask, why didn't the city ever help us like this? The contrast is sparking resentment and fear that the city's demographic shift is not accidental, but strategic. On TikTok and Twitter, the complaints are loud, raw, and unfiltered. Videos show once thriving neighborhoods now cluttered with tents, trash, and overcrowded shelters. Locals call it a humanitarian crisis, but they also call it an insult to taxpayers, especially Black families who've been in the city for generations. Some viral posts bluntly claim that New York now resembles a third world country, not in racial makeup, but in infrastructure, sanitation, and overcrowding. And these aren't just exaggerations. In 2023, the city reported record levels of emergency shelter usage, subway delays, school over-enrollment, and garbage-related complaints. Harlem, the Bronx, Queens. Entire blocks look abandoned or neglected, while billions are funneled toward managing the migrant surge. The optics are hard to ignore. Black Americans are exiting, new immigrants are entering. And the system doesn't seem interested in fighting to keep the people who built this city in the first place. Meanwhile, Behind closed doors and in the break rooms of precincts across the city, law enforcement officials are saying what politicians refuse to. Violent crime is exploding, and the numbers are pointing directly to the migrant crisis. According to internal NYPD reports cited by whistleblowers, illegal aliens were responsible for up to 75% of violent crime arrests in Midtown Manhattan. That includes robberies, assaults, and domestic violence, most involving repeat offenders. In Queens, officers report similar patterns, with more than half of arrests tied to undocumented individuals. One veteran cop called it a city under siege, while others say sanctuary policies and no-bail laws are making it impossible to maintain public safety. The result? Areas like Roosevelt Avenue and 91st Street now resemble open-air black markets, with moped gangs, migrant turf wars, and rising fear among longtime residents. Some police sources even claim that members of the Venezuelan criminal syndicate Tren de Aragua have infiltrated shelters and neighborhoods, operating with impunity while officials look the other way. To many, New York no longer feels like home. It feels like survival. Don't let the skyline fool you. New York isn't kind to everyone. Black New Yorkers have long earned less than white and Asian residents, faced higher unemployment, and were more likely to be essential workers during the COVID-19 pandemic, which hit black communities hardest. Many were laid off, priced out, or left behind as the city reopened. In Bed-Stuy and the South Bronx, median black household income still lags behind by tens of thousands of dollars. And while gentrification has brought in high-end gyms and wine bars, it hasn't brought equity. The jobs don't pay more, the taxes go up, the schools don't improve for everyone. The message is clear: you can stay here, but you can't afford to live. There's a darker side to this demographic shift, one that hits at the core of democracy. When black residents leave, political power leaves with them. Redistricting becomes easier. Black voter blocks shrink. Grassroots organizing becomes harder. City councils shift, school boards shift, funding shifts. And without those voices at the table, decisions are made about black communities, without black communities. It's not just Harlem that suffers, it's the entire city. New York has always been a black city. From the Harlem Renaissance to the birth of hip-hop in the Bronx, from civil rights rallies to jazz clubs, from the poetry of Langston Hughes to the activism of Shirley Chisholm, black people built this place. But how do you preserve culture when the people who created it are gone? This is not just a housing issue, it's a cultural crisis. Every time a black grandmother sells her brownstone because the taxes are too high, a little more of New York's soul disappears. Every time a black-owned business closes due to rising rent, a chapter of history ends. And once it's gone for good. Not everyone is leaving. Some are fighting back. Community land trusts, anti-gentrification zoning laws, black-owned housing cooperatives, cultural preservation projects. These efforts are growing, but they're not receiving enough support, funding, or media coverage. The question is, will New York recognize the value of its black communities before they disappear entirely? Because if this trend continues, one day soon, tourists may come to Harlem looking for the culture and find only memory. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. Special thanks to these sources for helping expose the untold story behind New York's vanishing black population. U.S. Census Bureau, 2020-23, Gothamist, Black Westchester, Pew Research, La Voce de New York, NYC.gov migration records, social media testimony from TikTok and X, formerly Twitter, and NY Post coverage on shelter, immigration, and displacement data. Legal disclaimer. This content is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. Scope News investigates stories rooted in history, policy, and verified reporting. Viewer discretion is advised, as this content may address themes of racial injustice, displacement, and systemic inequality. Scope News makes every effort to reflect historical truth and cite verifiable sources. Some interpretations and framing are intended for critical reflection and discourse.